Hello, welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart. It's time for episode 10 of The Old Worlders. This time, Mark and I are discussing the new Winds of Magic rules, and are they actually a community beta test for 2nd edition Magic?
Miniature Realms is proudly sponsored by Counter-Attack Bases. They stock a wide range of counters, gaming aids and movement trays for multiple game systems, and offer custom items to suit your club, your event, or even your podcast or YouTube channel. Check out the link in the video description.
We're here, Mark, back, episode 10. How are you? It's been a few weeks,
crazy,
hasn't it?
Isn't it? Episode 10, and it has been a little bit of time. I think we've both been pretty busy in what we've been doing outside of the show, haven't we? But
Yes.
there's quite a lot to discuss. So
Yes.
yeah, I've been very well, thank you. I should say so. And have you been well?
Yeah, really good. Back in the swing of things now, and the heat's dropped off a little bit, so I'm able to sit in this room
nicer.
without a fan on, and I'm not sweating yet. Well, we're all at the moment. No one needs to see sweaty Stu appearing on screen. But so we're going to talk about the new Magic a little bit today. I know that you've been really excited about it. It's something that, based on how much you've been talking about the Magic side of it as soon as we knew about it, I know that's something you're really focused on, you're really interested in. I'm not a huge Magic fan with games ever, but I find it quite interesting as well. But we're going to be talking about its potential impact on the game, but more importantly, what are they doing with it? Why is it here? Why have we got these 3 new bits of Magic, and are they testing something that we might see rolled into the game? And that's kind of the question today, really. So let's get into it. What I'll do very, very briefly, I've done a review on this Arcane Journal. I'll pop a link in somewhere, depending where I've placed myself on the screen. But I'll pop a link if people want to go and watch it. However, just a quick rundown of what we got. It's called the Winds of Magic. It's the way it's introduced in the book. And there's 3 sets of Magic. They're all optional. And they're optional to use with match play, but they don't feel like they're definitely designed to slot. This is it. They're not in the match play guide. It isn't part of the match play guide. It feels very much like it's added for fun first and for narrative first, but use them if you want to. There's a new miscast table. They provide greater power, greater risk, I suppose. Channeling gives you pools of dice, which you can use to add to your casting and dispel rolls. The Arcane Magic gives you cards, or you roll on a table, which again gives you extra things that you can do. And then you have Sorceress Ruses as well, which is another table. You randomly generate a ruse, which gives you single-use abilities, and it's recommended that you use either or on the channeling or arcane magic, and then the ruses can be used with either of those 2 as well. So that's it, kind of run down quickly, because we're not going to re-review and tell you how to do the magic. Go and watch the reviews for that, read your own books. They'll be landing on most people's doorsteps now, probably early. Most independents seem to ship them out a little bit early these days. So, with that in mind, let's start with your overall thoughts on it, Mark, before we go into great detail.
So when they first announced it, I was really quite excited, because Magic has been a very strange thing in the old world. Whereas when it first started, the races that were very good with Magic were probably a little bit too good with it, and that was sort of like brought back into line through sort of like early nerfs and things like that, and game changes, and then we got to a stage where everything looked semi-balanced. I mean, as much as it could be, but I think it's gone full circle again, and we got to the stage where Magic spam in certain armies was an absolute, massive thing, and probably the most efficient way to play if you're looking at like Beastmen or Orcs and Goblins. But then we had another range of restrictions, which made things like Viletide not quite as good. Still a fantastic spell, but it's not in the power level that it was before. So when this was announced, I was a little bit surprised because I thought they'd sort of like toned things back down again, but it appears now that they want to bring things back up, and I don't know why they've done that unless they're doing some sneaky play testing using this all
Mm.
potentially. But overall, I was very intrigued. I was very excited, and I think each of the aspects of it does add something to the game. Um, as the conversation goes on, we're we'll look at each one, but I think, as you say, with more risk, there's more reward. So although the miscast table is particularly brutal, um, there are some things that can happen um, that offset that quite substantially.
Yeah.
So, but some of that is luck based, and some of it is skill leverage. So again, that's something that I think the majority of people will enjoy playing with. But some people will be able to bring more of it to bear, perhaps in a competitive environment than your standard player. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I think it's worth a little bit of context. I think with eighth edition, not the only opinion, but a very common opinion would be that Magic got a little bit too big and a bit too powerful, and was quite often unit deleting and game ending. I'd get a couple of big spells off, rolling lots and lots of dice to make sure it doesn't really matter whether you lose your wizard, if you're taking out whole units and winning the games that way. Hence the whole six dice skills kind of jokes and jibes about it. So I think that context is important. I got a feeling that what we got with the original release of the rules was a bit of a reaction to that, to make sure that the magic was toned down, and we saw that with the spells. That nothing was, there was powerful spells, but they definitely weren't just all direct damage, large pie plate kind of things. And some people would definitely voice that they think they was a little bit on the weak side, or you didn't have as much control and agency. I'm a big fan of using magic within the different parts of the turn sequence that relate to it. It makes sense that the movement spells happen, movement, all that kind of stuff. I like that, even though it's still still my brain still tries to default to previous eight editions at times. I do like all of that. It just feels like that this is a way of doing something else with it, bringing a little bit of the power back, bringing a little bit of that resource management with the channeling thing, and which people missed, and I do miss a little bit as well. At least I like having that little pool of dice, and this kind of brings that back halfway, doesn't it? It gives you that element to just, rather than completely rewrite the system, it brings that back. So I like all of that. That's good. So let's talk about the miscast. We're going to go through as they appear in the book.
Sure.
Miscast table. You mentioned about the strength of it. Do you think it's too strong?
I think it's a little bit over the top,
Mm-hmm.
but dependent on what level of play you're playing at. It comes back to this thing that we've talked about before, where you find something's really, really good, and then you take as many of that thing as you can.
Mm-hmm.
So in that respect, it will punish people that are doing that because you're rolling more dice. So you've got a bigger chance of activating it, which probably needs to happen for some levels of play. For the average Warhammer player, it will not have a huge impact, apart from on those those small percentage times where the bad beat stories come from, where I had him bang to rights and then this happened and I turned myself into a flying frog and then it was game over, etc., etc. Which,
Yeah.
those sort of things happening, or an arcane toad, I should say, sorry, for the old world rather than a flying frog. So it is particularly brutal, but I like the idea of the spells are a little bit more powerful, perhaps, and
Mm-hmm.
able to be augmented in such a way that they can do that. But there is obviously a huge risk involved with it now, because on the previous miscast table, it wasn't really that bad, I didn't think. This
Hmm.
one is certainly, if you get a miscast come up, then you're sort of like, might have to do something here. Either use one of your ruses if you've got one available, or some of your channeling dice, or anything you've got within your magic items that enables you to sort of like fudge roll a little bit,
Yeah.
because some of them are absolutely devastating.
Yeah, they are. I'm not 100% sure where I sit on it yet, and you've been playing some games with it. I haven't played any games with it, so I don't want to be that person. We definitely, as a community, need to spend quite a lot of time, not the 2 weeks, properly play it for a long period, 6 months, 12 months or something, to really see how it settles in with everything. The context of these rules is the rise of chaos as well. So there's a lore side of it.
Yeah.
That's always important. The Games Workshop are writing things to tell a story as well, and to sell product, of course. As a new Chaos Dragon, it all goes in. Often the miniatures come first. We know all of that stuff. So I think it's important to be aware of that. I quite like the new table. And it may well be that if this is a beta test or a community test, that what we see is something in between the two tables that we've currently got. But I do you're right there. You do need something there to maybe offset the people who are going to spam the good stuff.
Yeah.
There are other ways of doing it, and I know Games Workshop don't like to limit stuff very often. I'd like to see limits to levels of wizardry in an army list selection. That's a really nice, neat, and simple way of stopping people taking too many wizards. What that level is, I don't know, but if that was in as part of the match play guide in terms of selecting your armies as an optional thing, again, so you can layer these things. Just some comp sets do it, limit the number of wizarding levels you can take in your army list. So it just means that you might just have a level 4 and a level 2. Maybe you get 6 wizarding levels or something like that, and actually limit, so it stops people taking too much. And then people go, but my army works with magic. That's my whole theme, and that's why Games Workshop don't do it, because they don't want to impinge people, and that's why I think you have match play guide, and then you have the more open play sort of thing. So people who just want to play whatever, and I'll come back to this a little bit later on, that massive let's have a magic themed game, do what you want, and I think that's good fun as well. So I think it's got some legs. I think we need to test it. I do think something is needed if you're increasing the power, or all magic will just dominate and run away, and we may well find that it gets gamed in a way that people do dominate with magic anyway.
Yeah, quite possibly.
So next up, then, channeling. So you've sort of posed a question: is it balanced, or is it a slow down mechanic? So explain what you mean by that? What's your thought process with that?
Well, it's channeling is very nuanced, and although on the surface it looks like it's quite simple to use, and you would be able to, for example, you can use it to alter your spell selection at the start of the game, which is never a bad thing, because there's nothing worse than paying a lot of points for a wizard and then just randomly getting spells that aren't going to be applicable to the battle that you're playing. That's one of the worst feelings. But on the other side of that, obviously, you have the fact that this is the time of chaos. It's just starting again. There's a little bit more magical energy in the air. More powerful spells, therefore, are becoming available. And I think with channeling, where I say slow down, what I mean is it it can give that option to put you deep into the tank, where you have options about whether or not you're going to augment your casting or dispelling rolls,
Yeah.
which isn't a problem. I'm not saying it's going to be a huge issue or anything, but it will add a little bit of time to the game, no doubt. But I think it's good because it will make people think a little bit more. And I out of all of the things in the book, I do have to say that I do like channeling the most.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not sure. I think a lot of it's going to have to be comped to include the dwarfs,
Yeah.
because as it's written, it doesn't look like it does.
Yes.
Um, and we've just adapted short term a sort of like Rune Priest level is effectively level 1 wizard. Rune Lord is effectively level 2. Anvil is level 3, as
Yeah.
per most of the suggestions in the Arcane Journal for the dwarves anyway, and that seems to work
Yeah.
fairly well, I
Yeah.
think, in general. What I don't like about channeling is that the dice are very random. You shouldn't be in a position where, as a level 3 wizard, what is it? Is it? I can't remember if it's
Level 3 is
2d3,
2d3.
3 plus just 2d3. So
Just
it's
2d3.
entirely
Yeah.
possible you could get 2, and then a
Mhm.
level 1 wizard could get 3 points.
Yes.
So I think there needs to be. That's what makes me think we're in a testing period, because those numbers don't look as if they've been thought out particularly well. I
Mhm.
think there needs to be a more sort of like, the scaling is not bad, but it
Yeah.
needs to be better, because you shouldn't have something that you're paying more points for having less dice to be able to leverage against a lower level wizard.
Uh-huh.
Um, and that's the only thing I don't like about it. So I think it's good. I think the channeling dice give you a huge amount of opportunity for skill leverage. If
Yeah.
you really, really want to push a spell through, you can really go for it. But the chances are that if you're only running low level wizards, that, or you've rolled badly on the channeling dice that you've got, that's going to be your one big thing
Yeah.
for the game. So you have to weigh it up in your mind as to whether or not you go early with it or not. So, and the chances are, most of the time, from the games I've played, and I haven't played hundreds of games or anything like that. I've played a handful of games, but it does feel like the casting costs of things for level 1 wizards, for example, like Magisters, which are generally almost certainly going to probably default to not Doombolt, sorry, the summoning. Going to default to the summoning. It's still on a 9+. So even if you sacrifice poor brother Kevin and use one of your dice, you're still up against it to get a 9.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's a little bit off, but probably just needs a little touch of work, and then I think it'll be there. So yeah, it's good. It's very interesting how it can be played. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've got any views on it. I know you haven't played any games with it or anything yet, but
I don't have as much problem with you do with the randomness of the dice. I think that's but narratively that fits with my brain anyway. I can appreciate that you want to align that slightly differently in a match play environment. Again, it needs play testing to see what it actually does. Sometimes this is a dice game. There's luck of the dice throughout it all. We're talking maybe the difference of being lucky, having 1 or 2 dice difference, and that might just be part of the luck of that game. Dwarves need something, and I can't help but wonder whether they'll listen to that and they will think, yeah, this is a system that people seem pretty pleased with, that gives that dice pull back that lots of people were missing. But dwarves do need something, whether it's a line that says they count as the different levels, or they just add a couple of lines on there, like dwarf runesmiths get this, dwarf, and we might have to accept that it's less. They don't get as much, so they get it's just 1 channeling dice rather than a D3 or 2 or something, or D3 -1 or something or other. It might well be less than a level 1 wizard. They might tone it down in that sense, but they need something so that gap doesn't grow any further for them, especially as later parts can work for them, as we'll see. Other than that, I just think it's really simple. I like simple mechanics that work, things that don't add a lot of complexity to the game. Adds another layer, yes, but there's very little rules there, and it's very easy for people to work out what to do with it, because you're just getting a little extra pool that you have to manage as a resource. And I love resource management in games. I always enjoy resource management in games. I think it's fun, and people might have special coloured dice for when they've done it and they keep it lower. It's great. I think it's brilliant for that sense. So I share some of your concerns. I think it feels like the community likes it best. It feels like the one that slots in with the rest of the game nicer without creating something brand new. It just works nicely, really nicely with the existing Magic phase, I think, without making it feel like there's a totally new set of Magic. And that's why I like it. And I'll probably come back to that when we get to our sort of conclusions at the end as well. So the next bit is arcane magic. So what are your sort of initial thoughts on that? So you've put your question here: is it balanced or is it a luck fest? So what do you think?
I don't think it's particularly balanced, if I'm honest. I haven't played enough games to state that emphatically. But it certainly feels like if there's any variance at all, which is always going to happen because it's a dice game, the person who rolls best on the table and gets those, you can only have one of these spells, is quite capable of basically launching a nuclear attack in your opponent's deployment zone at some point in turn one, which could prove absolutely catastrophic.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then your opponent may potentially have got the right card to counter that. So it is. I think it's highly variable. I think if you was going to have a fun game where you was just like, let's just play some really funky magic effects and things like that, then you're going to play Arcane, I think. Because it's going to give you the most bad beat stories and the most laughs and the most things happening. And as long as everybody's okay with that, I think it's perfectly sorted to maybe orcs and goblins versus dwarfs sort of battle or something like that. But I think if you want a more balanced approach to the game, then you're going to be looking at channeling.
Yeah.
But as I say, it may be in another 20 games that I turn around and go, do you know what? No, I got that wrong. Arcane's obviously just better because the way that the cards marry up more. I haven't seen enough of the combinations of the cards when they come out to see whether or not there's enough answers to the big problems on an average basis, basically. So yeah. That's my sort of like initial thoughts on it. I do like the fact it's cards though. I did order the cards.
They are fun.
Yeah, I just like the tactile feel of having things like that. Takes me back to the old battle magic.
Yeah,
back in the day.
Yeah, it is fun. I mean, I'd probably roll on the table, but then use the cards as the in-game pieces to remember. That's probably my preferred way of doing it, and I think you'll get a better and a fairer spread by rolling than you would by choosing from the deck, even though that's a bit of fun. But it depends on the kind of game you're playing, and I think that the cards, I don't know, you kind of touched on this. It feels like a big narrative expansion to Magic, and if you want a fairly fun Magic heavy game, you're almost going into the game and saying, we're going to go wizard crazy today. We want to add layers of Magic because it's fun, and I want to feel like I'm casting spells and doing all these different tricks, because it feels like another whole sub layer to the game, not just a little bit of extra resource management to boost your existing spells. You've got new abilities, separate abilities. Yes, some of them are buffing and things, but it feels like a spell within a spell, this kind of thing. So I think that's its strength when it comes down to if you want to play a huge Magic heavy game. But if you just want to play normal Warhammer, the old world, and slightly increase the power level of your Magic, I think it's potentially too much. And adding too much to the game that might slow the game down, etc. as well. A game that can take a long time to play. So it feels, if you wanted something that fits into this standard game, and to answer our question about is one of these things likely to get rolled into core Magic? I can't see this being rolled into core Magic. This feels like a narrative overlay, like the way it's presented, whereas channeling feels like it could be something that they just slot in as part of the standard Magic rules. So both have their place, but at the moment they seem to be fitting in those kind of camps for me. And then the last bit we get that is the sorceress ruses. So what are your thoughts with those?
Um, these are really great, um, but they are random.
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, 25 points for up to, per one up to three. It's a lot of points.
Mm,
It's a lot of points. It's another wizard in most cases. If you was going to take the three, I'm not sure on these. I haven't played enough with them to make um, an informed decision. They're fun, so I can see them being used from that aspect. Um, I think that they're probably the sort of thing that, as you alluded to just then, about I can see scenarios being published where they say, and for this scenario, we suggest you use the arcane rules
yeah.
and sorcerer's ruses.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think that they're likely to become part of the everyday game,
Yeah.
and unless people want it to be. I'm talking from a pure game match play perspective here. I don't think there'd be a match play thing.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there'd be a should we play this or not? Yeah, let's have a game of that.
Hmm. Yeah. I like it that way as well. I think so. When I first read the book, and I was just thinking, why are there three new additional things for magic in this book? It feels
Mm,
like, in some way, and I'm not being unkind to them either, but it feels like were playing all of these, and rather than pick one to go in this book, I just have them all. I'm
yeah,
sure it's not like that.
here's all the things.
But yeah, it felt like, well, we've got these three new systems, sort of. Let's shove them all in there. And I've changed my mind a little bit on that since. It just felt, make your mind up, what do you want to do? And I think I've come down to what you were saying there, is that if you're playing a certain scenario, a narrative-based thing, then you take the last two, so you take the ruses and you take the arcane magic with the ploys. And add them in, and that's you signifying this is going to be a magic heavy game because we love magic, we like wizards in our game, and we got a scenario that is really magic heavy deliberately, and that's what we want to do. So, I mean, I think adding those two, like I said, a much more narrative focus. You almost need to have a mindset of this is Storm of Magic's 8th edition style thing. You want to play that kind of game. You make a deliberate decision to play a magic heavy game. But if you prefer a game that you want to focus on maneuvering your units of infantry and your cavalry and things like that, and you don't want them just blasted off the table, and you want it to feel like a more of a combined arms battle, you might not want to use those additional things all the time. I think channeling, you could probably do either or. And you could,
Yeah,
I know it doesn't suggest it, you could easily use all three for one of those fun kind of Storm of Magic-y style games. So there's definitely lots there. And I'm glad it's all there. As I said, I've kind of come to terms with it now.
yeah,
I thought it was good, but was really confused on why there was so much all in the one book. And I thought, could you have left some of it out and put something else in that book? And that's not a criticism, but it was just a question. Did they need it all? And could they have used those pages on another profile, on something else?
yeah,
Even a hobby article or something, how to build a marauder's hut or something. You get that in the Middle Earth books. So I was just questioning, did we need three different things for magic in? They could have swapped it out. But now on reflection, I think it works with the story they're telling at the moment, the height of
yeah,
magic, and it's really fun rules for people to play around with. But I do think there's a real difference between channeling and the other two. I think you can
yeah,
separate that out. And if we're going to answer the question a little bit for the show, I think that channeling is the potential community test to whether they bring it in, to see how the community reacts to it. If everyone adopts it, maybe that's an idea that they might have already written second edition, by the way. This might be all moot, but
Yeah.
I don't think the others are going to be anywhere near anything other than this book as a fun, casual narrative expansion of Magic. Though I could see a version of channeling as part of the game, and I think there's a little element of some testing going on, or just they've already decided and they've given it to us in this book as a bit of an early tease. What are your thoughts, sort of summing it up, thoughts like that? What do you?
Yeah, of the three things, I feel that channeling feels the most polished and most um, easily adaptable to the current system we've got. The only time I could potentially see the other two things coming in is if they completely change
Mm,
the magic system to make it almost this huge sort of like for for people who play D&D, almost like wild magic, where you really, you cast your spell, but you haven't got an idea what the after effects of it is going to be.
yeah,
And I'm not sure that really fits in with the Warhammer universe, other than at the time when the peaks of the Wings of Magic are at their highest,
yeah,
and then I can see lots of crazy stuff going on. So I think, yeah, I think ruses and arcane are probably narrative devices, um, which is great. More narrative things, please. Just even if people complain about them and don't like them, please, Games Workshop, don't just stop doing them. Keep giving us as much of that stuff as you possibly can, because that stuff is what makes a game.
hmm,
So for a lot of people, for the majority of people who play, so yeah, please do keep doing that. But I think that channeling feels polished enough to me, and it feels in keeping with how this version of Warhammer is,
yeah,
enough for it to be. This is probably the one that we're going to be looking at going forward, or not. We don't know, you
yeah,
know. And
yeah.
I've only played a handful of games. That's just my thoughts on it after a handful of games. Um, I like things where it allows you to leverage skill.
Hmm,
And I think that knowing when to push the button and when to use your dice and when not to use your dice and when to
hmm,
feint with them and when not to feint with them, um, is clever,
yeah,
and brings a new level of subterfuge and gameplay,
yeah.
um, into the various magics that occur throughout the phases now. Just need a little bit of attention to dwarfs, I think,
Hmm.
and then yeah, you're probably good to go with it. So yeah,
And what's your favourite bit? Is it channeling?
yeah, I think so. Well, yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is channeling. I almost said, for a horrible moment there, I almost said the miscast table, because as much as I don't like it, I almost have a Gollum-like approach to the miscast table as he does the ring. He loves it, but he also hates it. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
but yeah, definitely channeling, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, same for me. Just because it's simple, really, and I'm simple-minded, and it feels like it slots into with the, as I've already said, slots in with the existing rules quite nicely. Adds a little bit. And the miscast table, yes. I mean, the way it's written, it's kind of you decide before the game whether you're using channeling in the game, and you both do it. Is there a world where the player chooses I'm channeling, and another one chooses no, and they're using different miscast tables. So that, again, that element of risk could be put on the player as well. I don't know whether that would work, but it might be fun to play test that a little bit
Mm,
and see whether it's up to you really. I don't know whether it would work, whether there's enough difference in the miscast tables to make it worth not channeling if you're playing it in a game. But it would be fun to explore. Someone wants to play a slightly safer version of the game. They don't channel, and then they're not rolling on the bigger miscast table. Just an
yeah.
idea as well. Probably gets too confusing, but for people that
I
want
don't
to
know.
play it a little bit less risky, it might be a way of doing it.
Potentially, yeah, and I think also it opens up a lot of avenues we've seen with regard to terrain and things like that, like special objectives and things like that. I can see they've already done some of the special objectives as being magic related, as in you get pluses to cast, or etc. There's no reason to say that there wouldn't be something like a magical, I don't know, a lost high elven receptory or depository of unused raw magic that if you controlled it with a unit that had a wizard in, they would get a D3 channeling dice for the rest of the game and things like that. I think there's all sorts of avenues like that they can do as well with it. So I think we're probably only seeing the very sort of like top level of the surface at the moment. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff underneath it that will come to light as we play more and more games with it. What I would say is as well is, if from a completely narrative point of view, if we're looking at this as just when the winds have started to change and they're just started to gather a little bit of impetus now, then are we expecting to see somewhere down the line with an arcane journal more of these sort of things happening with regards to the next level up of the winds getting more powerful? And where will that lead us? And that will be quite interesting, I think, for people to potentially think about. So yeah, really good arcane journal, I think, overall. Really good.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that the rules there have definitely got people talking, got us talking about magic, got me talking about magic, and as I said, it's just part of the game for me. I love my big units of inventory and things, so anything that messes with that, not always my favourite focus, but I think it's cool. So before we go, Mark, what's coming next? Because we've had everything revealed, everything's out. What do you think's on the way next?
Difficult to say, isn't it? I mean, if you believe all of the rumours, and I think if you do that, then there's a lot to believe because there's a lot of rumours. But I think that with what we've seen in, especially the hidden picture this week on Warcom, the image of what potentially is a chariot wheel, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that we're going to be looking at Tomb Kings versus Wood Elves, if the rumours are to be believed.
Yeah.
Which will probably be a new Tomb King BattleMarch box, I would imagine, as it's missing at the moment. Will we get a character within that as to counter sort of like Aralith in the Wood Elf box? Don't know, potentially. It's interesting, isn't it? I think whatever they do, if it is a Tomb Kings BattleMarch box, I don't think that's all it will be.
Yeah.
I can see them doing a few more bits. As to what they are, I haven't got a clue. But new chariots, I would assume.
Yeah, I agree. I think, well, we're going to get BattleMarch boxes because they've said they're coming, and they've confirmed that what's in the BattleMarch book and what they've shown on the website are the contents of boxes. So we know those are on the way. And I imagine they will start coming sooner rather than later because they need to replace those old battalions. So that's effectively repackaged old miniatures. So there's no reason to not get them out. And like you very astutely pointed out, the Tomb Kings one isn't present in that. Wood Elves is. Wood Elves Tomb Kings have been one of the biggest rumours for a while. Whether that is a 2-player set, there's a good chance it's really not. Especially with the Wood Elves having a BattleMarch box, there's a good chance that rumor came from a picture in the Arcane Journal that's coming out, where it's all about Tomb Kings attacking Wood Elves, and maybe there was a big versus shot, and that birthed the rumor of the starter. I don't know. There could be. It's always felt like a weird starter. So I think you're right. There's going to be new Tomb Kings. They're going to get some of a range refresh. I don't know how much, but they will get some new things, a bit like Warriors of Chaos have. There will
Yeah.
be an arcane journal, which is telling the story of a fight between Wood Elves and Tomb Kings, but it will be lean towards Tomb Kings. And if we get Wood Elf miniatures, maybe it will be plastic war dancers and things like that, because they will be desperately trying to replace the metal miniatures and the resin miniatures in the range as quick as possible now, because I'm pretty sure they'll have a cut-off date before. And there's a lot of things that need doing. So they'll look at the Wood Elf range and go, you know what, it's serviceable, but we need to replace those war dancers. And maybe there'll be a war dancer army of infamy in there or something like that. There'll be new war dancer miniatures, plastic ones or something. This is a guess as well. And that could be where a lot of the rumors have come from. But I do, yeah, you're right. I think we'll get a Tomb King refresh of some kind that includes chariots.
We keep hearing this rumor, don't we? Because we're now effectively in the point that we're in the year. We're in the fall, aren't we?
Yeah.
Going into the winter. So the other rumor that ties in with the Wood Elves and the Tomb Kings is this rumor that there's going to be a tree spirit army of infamy, which would tie in with the timings and following on with the narrative where the Tomb Kings have begun the long march and are now on the borders of the forest. I think that's quite likely that would possibly be in there. So maybe war dancers and tree spirits or something like that.
That would work nicely, wouldn't it? And it would make sense. So if we talk about dryads, there are all the official pictures show the metal dryads, which have never been re-released. That was clearly the intention at some point. They've painted them, or at least rebased the old ones for Old World, and they're in lots of pictures in the army books, but they've never released them. So there's a story there of why they haven't come out, and I think it's because they're metal. So you could be right there, and that could be what it is. It could be an army of around tree spirits, and we get new plastic triads, and maybe new plastic treemen for Wood Elves.
That'd be nice.
Replace the metals that aren't Sylvaneth aligned with Age of Sigmarkers, and basically freeing those up. That would work quite nicely as well, and it means that they can again stamp their own look on it, and it feels like the look is somewhere between old hammer, metal hammer, and not quite as far as some of the most advanced 8th edition stuff. You see that with the Marauders and the Chaos Warriors. So I can understand that they might look at the Dryads and say, you know what, they actually are quite Sylvanethy now. Let's keep away from that. Let's do something. Let's do a plastic reimagination of the metal style, and we get somewhere in between those two. I don't mind. I like all of them at miniatures, to be honest with you, but that could be a really smart thing to do. Now, whether we see that next or not after the BattleMarch boxes, I'm sure they're coming. I don't know. That could be a next year thing. It wouldn't surprise me if we got another chaos themed arcane journal next without many miniatures, or the rumored mammoth that could kind of slot in this year, and the Wood Elves and Tomb Kings could end up being next year. It could be it for Chaos now. We could get the Wood Elves, Tomb Kings straight away. Both those rumors have been around for a long time as well, but it wouldn't surprise me if we got another chaos journal with another army of infamy in there, and weapon upgrade sprues to do chosen and things like that, and a plastic mammoth, and they go like, here you go, here's a final hurrah for chaos for a little bit, and now before we move on to something else. So that could happen as well. I'm guessing we'll find out soon, because is it Nova coming up beginning of September? Nova. They usually do a preview show then,
pretty big preview, don't they?
So I imagine we'll get a preview there, and then we will get a preview come November time anyway, when they do another big one, which will be the stuff for January, February onwards. So yeah, I think that's my thoughts on it. All guess is we'll definitely get a BattleMarch boxes. We're definitely going to get something to do with Tomb Kings, and I think that at some point in the next sort of 18 months we've got to get something with Wood Elves, because there's been enough hints about that as well, but we will see. Anyway, I think we'll leave it there, otherwise the show will get too long. Mark, any shout outs you want to give before we say goodbye to the lovely people?
Just the usual crowd really, and all the members of Team England who are attending the annual barbecue at Scott's, the nicest guy in Warhammer's house this weekend. Hope they have a lovely time, and it's a shame I can't be there, but yeah, I hope everybody has a good time, and I hope that everybody has a great weekend, really, and yeah, enjoy playing Warhammer because it's a crazy good time to be playing there.
100%, 100%. And hopefully the weather holds as well, because we've had this wonderful weather, and then it's got all rainy in time for barbecues, it seems. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, thank you all for watching. Check the links out in the video description. Channel memberships, Patreon is the best way of supporting me on the channel and all the other content I make, so do check those out. Head over to the Discord as well, so it's a super friendly place to chat about Warhammer the Old World, but also any game system, because the channel also covers other games as well. But thank you very much for watching. Take care, and we'll catch you soon.
Everyone.